In the greenhouse game, each week begins with 3 players entering the greenhouse, earning power in deciding who goes home each cycle. Players in the greenhouse designate which players are vulnerable at each week's banishment. Additionally, players are able to earn seeds, the in-game currency, and the vulnerable players can use those seeds to buy their way out of precarious situations. Alliances must be forged, lies must be told, and at the end of each cycle, someone has to go home. It's the ultimate game of negotiation. Do you strike now or save your power for later? Do you save a valuable ally or do you save your seeds? 13 enter, 1 will leave. This is the greenhouse. Before we begin, this is the final round of the first season of the greenhouse. Huge round of applause. Before we begin the final round, a couple housekeeping things. First, I would like to remove Jan and Mitch from the jury because they literally did not watch virtually any of the game.
Yeah.
I mainly want to ask that for my finalists. Would y'all be comfortable with removing their votes? It's okay if not. I just think it's fair to have people who were present for at least 70% of the game. You know what I mean? Not just 1 to 3 rounds. So with that, we do have 8 jurors, 3 finalists. We will have a winner from that. There's no danger of a 3-way tie. First you will each get a chance to plead your case to the jury. Then we'll go down the line and everyone will get a chance to address you. Just keep in mind, everyone knows just how difficult this game was, so let your voices be heard. But also, I want this to be a celebration too. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's go with opening speeches. We'll start with Bryce for opening, and we'll start with Claire for closing.
I'm extremely honored to be sitting here because I was not expecting to get very far at all my first time playing any kind of game like this. I enjoyed working and playing with each and every single one of you. Meeting each and every single one of you was a highlight. As far as gameplay, I'm just going to get right into it. I think I played a really strong social and physical game. I maintained a lot of relationships with people, and I felt like I was very straightforward. Other than, and even in the situation where I was forced to do something I was not proud of with you, Lainey, I felt like I at least tried to keep you updated in my thoughts moving as they were coming. And I felt like I did that with each and every person that I talked to in my gameplay. As far as the physical competitions, I won a pretty decent amount. I won 3 greenhouse competitions and 1 seed competition as well. And so I think that proves that I'm a pretty well-rounded player. I'm here not just for the social strategies, but talking to people, making friends, that kind of thing, being the nice player that wasn't afraid to make moves, but also doing competitions and putting myself out there. When I did go to the greenhouse 2 times out of the 3 that I won, I made big moves both times. The one time that I was the sunflower, I did have the opportunity to drain a rose. I did have the opportunity to drain one of our strongest threats from his seeds, and I felt like I did that really strategically, while also having a strategy moving forward of what would happen if certain powers got used. And I think that everything worked out the exact way that I had planned for it to, and created a good stir up in the game. And then my second time, that was a situation that I wasn't proud of as a whole, because of some promises that I had made that I could not keep. But I do hope that it is apparent that the decisions I made in that situation helped me get to where I am. And were for self-preservation, like I've kind of said all day. Self-preservation is the name of this game. So I feel like I'm a pretty strong player and a pretty good choice to be the winner, the first winner of Greenhouse. So thank you.
Thank you. Brandon, you're up.
Okay, so to kind of echo a few things I said earlier, it's been really the goal of my life to be at one of these games. I've known the Lukes for far too long to have not ever come to a game before, so I'm so excited to finally be here that they're back. And It was my first time, and going into that was really intimidating because I've like watched some seasons and know a lot of you from playing before, or like hearing your names before, and that can be really intimidating going into it. To be honest with you, the strategy that I had coming in was to build relationships with people and find those genuine markers and to make that a reality and a real thing. And having to keep in mind the fact that you want to win the game at the same time. And that is a really, really tough balance that everyone in this room knows about. And I want to say that I'm proud of myself for what I have been able to do and get to where I am. There were, I think, some bumps in the road that, looking back on it, I wish that certain things could have been talked through more or whatever the case. But at the end of the day, I'm proud that as much as I could, whenever I said something, I meant it and I followed through. I tried not to give anyone any kind of decision that would blindside you. So I'm proud of what I did, and I'm proud of the challenges that I was able to win and making it and getting the final immunity. It is a very difficult game, as you guys know, and it is a game, and I'm glad we all know that deep down. But it feels it's very. I'm honored to be a part of this, and it's been a joy to work with you, and congratulations to all of you for just being amazing people.
Thank you. Fair. You're on.
Hey besties. Today has been a really long day. As everyone has said so far, this is a really difficult game with a lot of moving parts. I was very careful, and every move I made was pretty strategic. The Venus flytrap, buying it was pretty emotional. But I was strategic in how I used it. I did not act on emotion. I was very careful to always think through my strategy, and I was always very open about my strategy with people around me that I was working with. And I think a lot of people sitting here can attest to that. There was a few slip-ups where things didn't get communicated as clearly as I wanted to if I was making a move, and I am more than happy to address that if you guys bring that to me in this. But like I said, difficult game, lots of moving parts. I'm a very emotional person, and I love you all very, very much. And so today was very hard on me, but ultimately I came here, I did what I came here to do, and I knew I would have to break promises that I couldn't keep, and it breaks my heart. And like I said, I'm more than happy to address it to where maybe you won't forgive me, but you'll see where I was coming from. I loved working with all of you. I think I had the chance in at least one round to work with every single one of you, and it was truly a joy, and this was truly the best day I've had in such a long time because of the pandemic. So really, truly, whatever happens, it's no hard feelings, but I would like you to consider, when you're considering me, the strategic game I played, as well as I believe I was one of the few people willing to make a lot of big moves and burn some bridges, which was a really tough decision, especially for me, but that is the name of the game in a social strategy game such as the Greenhouse.
Okay, congrats on your game. Good job, guys. Even if there are some ways that I didn't approve how some of you got up there, you're still up there, and it's hard to be up there. And I know, like, deep down, nobody's out here to be vindictive. Well, I do want to acknowledge, like, Bryce, whenever you had to do that to Lainey, it was awful to watch. But I did understand why you made that decision. Just strategic-wise, I felt like if I was in your position, I would have had to make the same choice. And I feel like you played a good under-the-radar game in terms of you were not anyone's problem until you were a problem. And it's a difficult way to float through the game, so like, amazing job. Like, you weren't a floater, but you know what I mean? Like, you hovered, you stayed under the radar. And it was very cool to see you worm your way all the way up there. So good job. Brandon, I will say from my perspective, I do respect your game play the most out of our top three. I did want to say, did you have any top threes or top twos with anybody?
We had talked about at various points the four of us that made it up here.
A top four. Okay.
A top four.
Okay.
And then I know that kind of like individually, we all spoke about a top 2 situation at some point. And my thought going into it, knowing how this would shake out, was the top 2 is not really what happens unless you want to make it happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like with the ties
Yeah,
and everything
yeah.
else.
It's only ever been intentional.
Yeah, and as the game went on, it did not, I did not feel like that was what needed to happen.
I figured you didn't because it's very
I was
difficult.
open, I won't lie to you, I was open to it if it was going to get it to that point.
Yeah, but that makes sense. It lines up with your gameplay, and I think you played things really well, like balancing wise your alliances and tough decisions you did have to make. I feel like you were open and direct, which is a form of gameplay that I really respect. Claire, okay, so I think everyone on the jury wants to know why on the Venus flytrap you went for John and not Christian or Bryce.
I had believed that John was the ringleader leading Drake to get me out with the Venus flytrap. That is what I was led to believe. Like with the information I had, the limited information I had. And so that was the move I made, was you're gunning for me, so you're ringleading this side, so I don't want you in the game if you're gonna come for me this hard. I also did view John as a threat.
Well, yeah, and he is, and in his own right, but it was so interesting to see how, and this is just my personal opinion, I felt like you had much better options that would have saved you so much grief later on. So it was just, I wanted to just ask you why. But, in that moment, you thought he was your number 1 threat.
Yes,
Very
precisely. I thought he was the main hurdle keeping me from sitting here. In hindsight, when we watch back the tapes, I could be completely wrong. But with the limited information I had, whenever I had to make that decision, that is what I did.
I was gonna also ask about the Venus flytrap move, but I feel like we kind of discussed that, so I don't really ask that. I would like to know, in each of your own opinions, what is the biggest play that you made in this game?
I can start us off. So for me, I think my biggest play by far, and I have to give credit to Drake for his part in it, was nominating John, and again up against, oh gosh, who was he up against? You?
Me? Question mark? Maddie?
It was you. Yes, I'm so sorry, Maddie. Yes, no, it was you. Sorry, I was focused on that one side the entire time. Yes, nominating John and knowing that he was going to flush out his coins or his seeds in order to do the uproot, and I knew knowing that it was going to be a bidding war, because there was speculation of him having to be going after the Venus flytrap power that early in the game. I mean, obviously it would happen later on, the next round, but I thought that was a really smart move, was to, even though he wasn't the person that I had originally intended or wanted on the block at that time, I thought that would be good for me moving forward. And then it also, I just feel like everything, I mean, I went to the diary room and I was doing a little dance because it played out exactly how I had hoped it would. The only kink that could have happened would have been if Drake had gotten the uproot and used it to save John, and I was going to be forced to put up Meredith. That was what I didn't want to do. However, I talked to Meredith and John about that, what I was watching happen, and right after that, Meredith took John's coins and placed it on the uproot. And so I think that was really nice to see. I could plant a small little kind of seed into that, so they took that initiative, and it played out with Drake being on the block like I didn't initially intended, with the added benefit of draining John of his seeds. So I think that was the biggest move, and I think the game had been kind of stagnant. Not stagnant, I mean, but it was kind of like, everybody was afraid to really make big moves at that point, and I think that's what really set us off. So.
Brandon?
I want to talk about the Mitch situation. I think the first. So when I had the rose, it was I think week 2. I put Mitch up on the block, and I told him I did not want to. And because at that point in the game, and I know we've all talked about it already, like there was not any clear like way to go, and so I told him ahead of time that I was going to put him up, and then I was going to try and keep him off. And I had 2 seeds at that point, my original seed and the seed from the first round that I did keep close to my chest for a little while. And I did that strategically in a way because A, I was new to the game and still learning how it goes, but B, kind of that was the MO on that whole round. Like it seemed like no one really wanted to chit chat about if they had found it or not. Mitch and I found it together. So we were there together, went through that together, like literally walking around together and found it. And so I wanted to, I really did feel bad putting him up, and I said, I have 2 seeds. I think we can get you out with just yours off of the block. If not, I'll give you one more of mine. And if you need other one of mine, we will do that too. And it ended up having to happen. And, you know, I mean, as for me, I hope that showed like my end of the bargain being held up, if that makes sense. And saying that I was going to do what I said I would.
I would say a big one for me personally, as a person, and it's tough that you're asking this question, but it was your elimination. I was not involved in the actual who they were nominating and the coin situation, but because there was some drama with me, you, and Christian, the opportunity was there to stop it, like to stop the drama, and I was able to kind of, I feel, orchestrate things going the way that I wanted without damaging our relationship too badly.
Okay.
I think that was a really big personal accomplishment, and I think it was a really pivotal moment in my game, because up until that point I had been working with you and Lainey and working with the boys, and that was sort of where I had to draw my line in the sand, and it hurt me to do it because I really loved working with you. But it was a big personal accomplishment because in life, I've talked to my therapist about it, I'm loyal to a fault. So the fact that I was able to not only make that decision, but also pull it off in what I think was a really well done way was a big move and big win for me.
Player Bear, oh, I'm so proud of you. Also really pissed at you, but it's fine. No.
I think that's the
For you,
consensus.
it was rough. We had probably going to be one of the star moments of the season. Obviously, it did not turn out the way I thought it was going to. I 100% thought I was going home. Even though I was reassured that you weren't using it on me, you know, I was like, well, she'd be stupid not to. Absolutely no hard feelings. And I'm glad we were able to talk it out afterwards. And in that moment, I think before everything happened, we could have made that go a different way if our emotions weren't running so high and kind of controlling the situation.
I agree 100%.
Brandon and Bryce and Brandon every time. I want to know why either of you think you deserve my vote when Claire is the only one who didn't put me up until she had no other choice.
That's right.
Sure. I mean, in the early moment, like those first couple of weeks and rounds and stuff, I did, I guess, and it could be fully perception based on nothing but what else is going on in my mind. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And looking for something and someone to say and create a scenario that made sense. And to make a reason for it. I think you played, and we've talked about this, you have a great social game, and you scared me. And your ties to, I know your name's not Margaret, Meredith. Your ties to Meredith also freaked me out in those first few weeks. I think in an alternate universe, we would have worked really well together, and it might be adjusted. And I don't know. I mean, I respect your play, but Claire played the badass game, so I get it. So that.
I just viewed you as a threat, period. Because right off the bat, after that first competition, I knew that you had gotten the puzzle box, and you had already gotten the seed for the puzzle. And I know you were really, really active in trying to find the seed for the hunt. And in my mind, that starts like my brain starts working, and I'm like, okay, he's playing this game proactively. He is trying to get these seeds for a purpose. And so by that point, I had already kind of started forming deals with mostly just Christian at that point. And I knew it was one of those situations of if I wasn't going to be on the same side as you, I had to take you out, which I feel is why I nominated you when I did. And I talked to you through my entire process as it happened. I wanted you to know, because I came into this game not wanting to be into the game blindsided, because I do not think it is a good way to play, and I will think about what I did to Lainey for a long time, because that is not the type of game I wanted to play. That situation obviously was forced upon me in a different, we'll cover that later, but I tried, with each and every single one of you, I tried to be as transparent and honest about my intentions as possible.
I do feel personally hurt by two of you, and I think you both know why I feel very hurt. I'm gonna start with Claire. I gave you first of all, let me address the whole fly trap situation. Drake, we had talked about fly trapping you, and I did give him 2 seeds. To do all of that and whatever. And I thought I had rebuilt my trust with you, and I gave you that whatever it's called, green thumb, as not only like this is me trusting you, and I know we had already discussed everything, but that was also me like not securing my vote to keep me, your vote to keep me, but also like just. I don't know, it was pretty much me like throwing a bone because I did not have to give it to you. Because I was going to give it to Brandon, and we had a big talk outside, and Taylor told me I couldn't give it to him after the vote was announced. Mm-hmm. So, my question for you is, why the hell did you vote against me? And did you use your bank vote against me as well?
Yes, and I'm ready to explain the situation.
Okay, please. I'd love to.
Because this was the big situation where I really regret that I didn't get to communicate it as well as I wanted to.
Yeah, because you definitely did not make me feel like you made me feel like I was safe. I thought I was safe until I saw Christian's face.
I know, can I?
Yeah, go.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm heated.
So, I truly was working and loving working with you.
Mm-hmm.
I had never lied about wanting to work with you and wanting to go far with you.
Mm-hmm.
What had happened in this scenario, we had 2 banked votes. They were the last 2 left in the game. We agreed we should split them up, like not use them in the same round. He couldn't vote that round. So what we had said, we didn't know what Christian and Meredith were gonna do. I truly didn't know, and at that point, these 2 boys had saved my life, and they were the reason I was in the game, so I was going to repay the favor, and so I was between saving Brandon by playing my vote and my banked vote to potentially tie them in case they were going to go against what they were telling me, for a tiebreaker to happen, because you would have broken the tie. I was between doing that to save Brandon, who had saved my life, or going with you, who had been a part of fly trap, trying to fly trap me.
And I understand why.
I had to make that decision. That is why I didn't make that decision until after you gave me the green thumb.
Mm-hmm.
We talked one more time after you gave me the green thumb, and that's whenever that decision was made.
And you already had the green thumb.
Huh?
You already had it at that point. So it's, I don't know, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like, it's just, I don't know. Continue, sorry.
I understand. I couldn't talk to you or give it back or do anything to sort of reconcile what we had going, because when I tell you I feel so bad that I couldn't do that with you, it is like when I started like getting really emotional in the game, even though I was still thinking strategically, it's whenever I think like some people who have been watching me closely, if you have, there was a distinct shift in energy after we had to eliminate you. So the choice was ultimately, I'm going to stick with the boys that just literally saved my life and gave me what, like 14 coins? Over the person who had just crossed me. My big regret is that I couldn't talk to you about it and give you back the green thumb, because I would have.
Okay.
And I know you might not believe me, but that was my intention, was to bring it to you because I thought you had deserved that from me.
Brandon, I think you played a really good game. You really crossed me. You bonded a lot. I really have nothing to say. It's a good job. And then, why the hell? You could have put up, I'm sorry, that was really like overly excited, but you could have put Christian or Claire who would never touch the block. Why the hell did you do that to me after I had literally given you the power? When I could have taken it from you, because I was going to take it from you. And last chance I decided, you know what, I trust this guy. Because I told you I was going to get the green thumb. I told you that I had that extra seed. And I told you what I was planning on doing. You went against me and told her everything, which, you know, sorry, I had schemed with him for a second. You'll see in the videos. I'm sorry, I am not responsible for anything I've said today. I said some shit today, but why the hell, after all of that and me putting my full trust in you, did you decide to do that to me? Please, have the floor.
Yeah, definitely. So I do want to start off by apologizing again. That was the hardest decision. Like outside of the game, there was like, I was not proud of that decision. I was not proud of any decision that was going to come out of that whole situation. I'm sure you can watch. I was torn up about that. If you watch.
And I'm sorry for yelling at you.
No,
It's
I
been killing me,
completely
man.
understand 100%, and that's why. So I knew the moment that I saw Meredith go for the uproot that I was screwed. I had just given Claire, I think it was like 6 or 7 seeds in order to save her from being fly trapped. In my mind, with her, that was an investment that I didn't want to just throw away, if that makes sense. I just spent 6 seeds. Honestly, that we were like trust, but that just like took it to the next level, and that's probably honestly why I'm sitting here today, right now. But that was an investment that I didn't feel comfortable breaking. I did not. Christian was the other option, and at that point,
Which is a great option.
Right.
Sorry, but it was a great option.
At that point, the 4 of us had been solidified, and I was just starting to really work with you.
Really?
I would
Because
say
I feel like it had happened if you.
no. I mean, like that's when I was really starting. Like I am investing. Like I want to work with Lainey because of the conversations that I was having, trying to help you like talk to Claire. Like this is what you need to like talk to her because I think you can. This will be fine, and like, you can build this trust with her. And I really just I got stuck in a situation where it was, do I betray the people that I've been working with since day one, or betray the people that I had just really started building a relationship, or a deep relationship with?
Okay. Okay.
I do want to say, at no point in time did any of the information that you gave me get shared.
Okay. And thank you, appreciate that.
Anything that I will say the extent of the betrayal was me putting you up. You can also ask.
Oh yeah, and not using the bank vote that you said you were gonna use on me, so thank you for that.
I said I would think about it.
Oh, I didn't hear that part, I heard, yeah, I'll use it.
I said I'll think. Yes, I said yes. I was sitting with Drake. I was like, yes, I will think about it. I would heavily think
I
about
didn't
it.
hear that part.
I had that conversation with Claire, and honestly, looking back now, it was a hard decision. But I'm glad I did not use that banked vote because I was sitting here against Meredith, and had I not used my banked vote, it would have gone to a tie.
So let's start with Bryce. Why am I starting with Bryce? Because I genuinely have no idea anything that you did this whole game. I just don't know. At the beginning of the game, I had no idea what you're doing. You can ask multiple people. Your name was mentioned by me a lot, just because I just had no idea where you were, what you were doing. And people were like, "Oh, do you have any names?" And I was like, "I guess Bryce is just here." So, Brandon, I think you played really incredible today. Because at the end of the day, you did one thing that not a lot of people were able to do. You maintained friendships with everyone. Solid throughout. There was never one time where I was like, Brandon's like being an asshole or like making decisions purely for himself. You're always looking out for others, even if it was for your game. It always felt like it was genuine. You were there. Even in the beginning, like I was always concerned because I didn't talk to you much, but I got every little chance I got to talk to you, it felt like I was actually learning and not like being told something that was later just bullcrap. So I think that doing that for a whole game is nearly impossible, and the way that you were able to keep that up is incredible. So I commend you for that. Claire, I think you played an incredibly aggressive and hard-fought game. I think you did an incredible job. It was a very messy game for all the right and wrong reasons. There's a lot of situations like the fly trap that I guess outside looking in, I thought could have been handled more to get out bigger threats, things like that. I felt kind of used by you in that beginning section because rather than being like, oh, I'll help you out because I'm aligned with you and I want to be friends, you always made it seem like I owed you stuff and I was required to pay off favors. I never made it seem to anyone that I was a favor kind of person. I always helped people that helped me. So it just made me feel like I was being used rather than being helped.
I only asked you for one favor, and it was because I saw an opportunity seeing Mitch going out that I thought he was gonna give you immunity to be first in the daisy chain, and I saw that opportunity for myself to give you a banked vote that would benefit me. That was the only favor I ever asked of you. I said, I do not want to pick you in the daisy chain because I don't want it to be like another favor situation.
So Bryce, your communications were great. I feel like that was a very high point of your game where you communicate with people. You communicate with me very well. And it's a contrast to the other two because they like to tell people what they want to hear. And you were more so like me, where I was abrasive sometimes to where like I told people what they didn't want to hear, right? You did that more so than them. And that is a logical way to communicate with me. But I feel like the way you communicated was better. But that's just how I perceive how I would communicate with somebody. On a big highlight level, you weren't too like floaty. You made moves when you had to, but I feel like the moves you made sometimes weren't completely calculated, and sometimes weren't completely calculated to how you would let the jury feel about you. Obviously, with the Laney situation, and that's like the main thing. Like you made flashy moves, but it's like
bumped people a little too hard when you made those flash moves. So that's the one thing. But I respect how you timed your powers. Like when you got into power, you had very good timing in this game, and I respect that. New player, great first time. Brandon, the way you were situated in this game, I don't know if that was. I know you situated yourself very well, and I respect that. That's very admirable. Claire did the same thing. Y'all are very good at putting yourself in a good social situation where nobody is going to be targeting you. And I think that the way you communicated with people, no one had really a reason to put you up or anything like that. But like the main point of your game is like you just were constant the whole entire time. You always you never made big moves that would piss people off. You never made small moves that nobody's gonna be like, what the hell are you doing? But I feel like you were just on like a cruise control sometimes. And I feel like you didn't, when I would communicate you, especially late, you would not give me full answers. And you'd be like, oh, we'll get to it when we get there. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you did give that kind of mentality to other players. And that also kind of bumps people the wrong way sometimes. But again, great game, new player, crushed it. Claire, I knew going into this game, I was like, Claire is going to fucking wreck shop, and you did. The points where you struggled most in this game were because I put so much pressure on you. I feel like I instigated a lot of things, and the jury noticed too, like I would instigate, be like, guys, Claire is kind of like doing pretty fucking good right now, and you were. The Venus flytrap, I nudged people, I said, guys, Claire's doing great. What do y'all think about, making a big move? I hinted at people to push them. And that's the way you handled pressure and the way you handled all the obstacles. Everyone in this game knew what you were doing. Everyone in this game that you knew you were talking with everybody, you were good with everybody, and you still didn't get nominated. You were the only one in this game that didn't get nominated. And you were the absolute thorn in my ass this whole entire game. But you were the reason I'm sitting here and I know it and I'm perfectly fine with it because the way you handled yourself in this game, when I would challenge you, when others would challenge you, you handled it so well to where no one put you up. No one could put you up. That's how well you were situated in this game. You were never nominated, and everyone was aware of what you were doing. You were a big target the whole game. So know that I did say in trying to save myself that I was voting Claire, that my vote is still up in the air. You all played a very good game, but that's where I stand. So good luck to all of you.
I guess to sort of respond to some things that have been said already and just to sort of give my perspective on it, because I feel like mine is a little bit different. I mean, Claire, throughout the game, you're telling me you were good with me and you were working with me, but you never made me believe you. And so that was sort of it for me, and I never had trust with you, and that was sort of that. And Brandon, you were nothing but nice to me. But I mean that literally, you had nothing but nice words for me, and that is not a game. And it was pleasant, but you had nothing to offer me at any point. You asked nothing of me, so that was not a meaningful relationship. And then Bryce, you're sort of saying I talked to everyone and had relationships with everyone but Kip, and I don't think we had a relationship whatsoever. You say I was very good at communicating to people and being honest with people, but in every situation where you had something you needed to be honest with me about it, which was pretty frequently, it was always as we were sitting down, as we're walking to the chairs, the very last second, I was always an afterthought to you. And I feel like that's kind of true for all of you, that no matter how much of a threat I made myself, I made a name for myself early in this game, and yet none of you approached me and wanted to actually work with me, while my social game was wide open, completely. And I could have been an advantage to each of you. And to sort of clarify some of the things that you are proud of, the John draining the coin situation,
everyone was afraid that particularly he and I were going to pool our resources for a Venus flytrap, which was not a scenario we had spoken about or were considering. So I'm very glad that you think you made a monumental move by preventing something that was unlikely to ever happen and wasn't a reality. What I guess I want to ask of you is, obviously you were sitting there and I'm not, but I don't know, I want to know why you think you played a better game than I did. And obviously you are there and I'm not, but what specifically do you think, if you could explain that to me?
Something I noticed, especially early on when you were winning immunity challenges consistently, you would win the immunity, and from what I was hearing across the board, I was not in power in any of those early rounds, so I wasn't having those kinds of conversations, but from what I was hearing from people that I was talking to were that you weren't really coming up and speaking to these people after you won immunity or before or anything like that, and so I think that might have been something. I don't want to say I played a better or worse game than anybody. I think everybody played a phenomenal game. I think we just timing and the way things fell, it worked out in some people's favor and it didn't in others. And I think I was able to align myself with really strong people who helped me make, I guess, what in my opinion were good moves, and helped me get further in the game. And so I think that's, like, I wouldn't be sitting here, honestly, if it were not for these two and Christian. And so I think that's what happened.
Similar to what I said with Drake, I feel like in a different universe, we would have aligned very quickly and it would have been very different. And so I think you're exactly right in saying that, like, it was a mistake, I think, to not pursue that working relationship with you on my end. And I think a lot of that for me personally was kind of like the beginner's game of balancing being friendly with everyone and trying to be on everyone's good side, but then not wanting to make like too many promises too quickly. And then you have someone who is doing well, and you know, we hadn't talked a lot at that point, and so it became that thing of like, well, I guess this might be where the line is drawn, so let's run with that. And I think that ended up being what happened. So I'm really saying I agree with you. I think in a different version of the game, it would have been completely different. So I loved your game, and I literally like wanted to give you the extra seed at least, like, to make it fair right before you were eliminated. And ultimately, like, I had to keep it, or I thought I should keep it to come in here because we were getting really close to the finale. But I respected your gameplay so much that that was really, really difficult, and I chose to be selfish in the moment. But that's what it is.
So instead of talking about, like you asked, how you think I did better than you, I'm instead going to focus on why I think we didn't work in this game. Because I think you played a phenomenal game. You know I love you as a player. You're like my favorite person to watch play whenever I'm filming. I walked in here wanting to do with you what I wound up doing with Lainey. I even worked with you on the first seed immunity challenge. We sat next to each other. We kept trying to figure out the math problem together. Once the consensus was that you had a target on your back, I chose, because we had never said the word alliance, we had only said we were good, to put some physical distance between myself so that I wasn't associated with a threat. And then it kind of kept going. And then I felt the same way that you feel about me, as much as you feel I didn't go to you about information. I don't really feel like you came to me. Pretty much every time we had a one-on-one, I feel like I was the one that instigated it, specifically with the Venus flytrap. Again, in hindsight, apparently I made the wrong decision. Everyone's been kind enough to tell me that at this point. But I was only talking to them because they were the only ones actively saving me. No one else came up and offered me tips. I got one from Christian, but he was also talking with you guys a lot, so I was only talking to them. I did not talk to anyone else until I had the Venus flytrap in my hand. It was not Meredith as an afterthought, it was Claire's focusing on these two.
Okay, so it's time for closing statements. Claire, you will start this round.
I know I played a very different game from these two. They made it a point to be very friendly with you all, which I know is appealing, especially when it comes to who you're voting for. But when you're thinking game-wise, I was extremely strategic, and like I said, I know I had to not keep some promises that I made. I had to burn some bridges, but I hope after this talk you can kind of realize why I did what I did, even if you don't necessarily agree with it, and respect it. Because I was one of the only ones making big moves in this game and really pushing it along. And I said one of the only, Drake, not the only. You don't need to make that face. I was one of the only ones. It was really hard for me. I cried a lot at the end, but ultimately I'm really proud of myself, and I was able to do it while you all knew exactly what I was doing the whole time, except that one situation with Lainey, which I cleared up. And I think it's a really impressive feat on my part, and I hope you agree. I really, truly loved working with all of you because, like I said, I think I got the chance to work with every single one of you sitting here, and it was a blast. So I hope you'll consider me. I know they might not have hurt your feelings the way I did, but if you want to look at overall game, big moves, strategy, I hope you'll consider me.
Brandon.
So I'll be quick. I just, again, thank you. And for my first time playing and throwing myself into the loop, I'm proud of what I was able to do. I would definitely do a lot of things differently, but I'm glad that the through line of my experience was what, at the end of the day, I wanted it to be. And I had a great time, and if you consider me wonderful, I have no bad things to say about these two, so I leave it in your hands, jury. Thank you.
Once again, I had a blast, first time player. This is more than I could have asked for from this event. I thought I was a pretty well-rounded player. I thought I was strategic when I needed to be strategic. I was social when I needed to be social, and I was able to do these competitions when I needed to do them. I'm incredibly honored to be sitting next to both of these people who I think played phenomenal games. And just to be even considered one of the top three is such an achievement. And so if you think that I did well enough to win, I would appreciate your vote. I'm not going to beg for it, but I would love it. And I hope we can all play again some other time. So thanks.
All right, wonderful. Round of applause for our finalists. Christian voted for Claire. Let's remember Claire. Emily voted for Brandon. Meredith voted for Bryce. Lainey voted for Brandon. John voted for Bryce. Maddie voted for Brandon. Kip voted for the winner of the Greenhouse Season 1, Brandon. Great game. The final vote was 4-2-2. So yes, thank you all so much. This was a dream come true day for me. Here are the jury votes.
I think if I would have been able to ask one more question to Claire, it may have changed this, but Brandon and Bryce both chose to go after me early for no reason other than the own fantasy they made in their head. And even though Claire and I did have a major blowout, we were still able to recover and continue the working relationship that we had. And she then was only put me up because she was put in a position where she was forced to. So I'm going to vote for Claire to win.
Hello, I'm gonna do a few spins. Hello.
Entered with a spin, will exit with a spin.
Cool. I feel good about that. Love Bryce, love Claire. They both fucked me over. Brandon, wonderful game. No, Claire played a very strategic and very hard game. Same with Bryce, but
I think that Brandon played it in the way that I respect the most, in my own opinion. I feel like there is a way you can do things strategically without bulldozing over people or taking advantage of people. And like, I know there's like nothing personal, but he's the one that I vote for. None of them did anything to me, but I did watch them tear each other apart. So that's how I personally feel. I feel like Bryce did it good as an undercover, but he didn't do as much as he said he did. I feel like Claire did a lot. She did a lot, and sometimes maybe too much. And so as listening to all the jury and hearing their perspectives, it really had an effect. And I know game-wise there are some things you have to do, but I did feel like Brandon had a better cap on everything. So that's where I stand. But it's also a game. Like, I love everybody. So
Just tell us about your thoughts as you vote for a winner and cast your vote.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, especially with the jury conversation we just had. I asked them how they played a better game than me. And Bryce was the only one who could even try to give me an answer. The other two sort of didn't even make an attempt to do so. And I do think that Bryce did, as he said, have a really well-rounded game. He explained his game the best. He knew what moves he was making, and he saw an impact for them. Whether or not it always worked out perfectly, and he was a good communicator and social player. Brandon, I feel like, really was attached to the other two and sort of their group, and had some strong moves, but just fewer compared to the other two. And with Claire, like, I don't know, I didn't see all these moves she was making. I'm just not exactly sure what she was referring to, because to me a lot of it was more reactive from where I was sitting. And she didn't point to as many specific things. And so for me, I think just after that conversation in the day, I think Bryce, especially as a first-time player, is the champion for me.
Hello, Christian. Talk about it real quick.
Claire played a great game. I like how holistically she just she was able to shake off every single target that she got. They all played good. Brandon played great. Bryce played great. But like, I like how Brandon really never had a target on his back. Claire did, and she still like managed to shake it off and stuff. So, and Bryce played great too. But I feel I like Claire's game more. I'll be quick. Sorry.
Bryce, again, I still am really not exactly sure what you did. Claire, yeah, you played an incredible game. It's something to watch. And if you go back, I hope you're proud of the way that you played, because cutthroat, brutal, but also incredibly present and just amazing. But I have to go with the person that I thought played the most well-rounded, both making hard choices, big choices, and also keeping things light, keeping things friendly and enjoyable the entire time. So I'm gonna go with Brandon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
So I'm gonna be voting for Brandon. So I'm just gonna put that there right now. But my reasoning, I think Brandon played one of the cleanest games out of the. He did play the cleanest out of the three of these. I know Claire didn't see it well in the game, but I think she missed a lot of opportunities. Yeah, she had a lot of power, and she made some moves, but I don't think she made the right ones to actually, like, there were so many other things she could have done that could have solidified her win, and she just missed them in my eyes. And so that's why I don't feel comfortable giving her the vote on that. Bryce, I don't know, like, his big move was the draining of the seeds, which I think a lot of people were thinking, so I don't feel like he can just take sole credit for that, especially because Drake came to him and kind of brought it up also. So I don't feel like his big move was actually his own to go with. And yeah, I think Brandon played a really great game, really clean, kept everyone liking him, and he had pretty great jury management in that aspect. No one was pissed at him, so yeah.
Thank you. And with that, Brandon becomes the first winner of the greenhouse because of his well-rounded play. Until next time.